For this problem, we have to figure out the distance an ant crawls. We know that an ant crawls along the edge of a square plate once, and each side of the plate is 5 inches long. Since the square has 4 sides, we have to add the length of each side, which is 5, 4 times. So that would be 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, which is equal to 20. So the answer to this problem is 20 inches. For this problem, we have to figure out the perimeter of the cookie. From the cookie cutter on the right, we can see that each side has a length of 1 inch. To figure out the perimeter of the cookie, we have to find the number of sides in this cookie cutter. In this case, the cookie cutter has 10 sides, so the perimeter of the cookie is 10 inches. For this problem, we have to figure out the perimeter of the triangle she drew. We know that the triangle she drew is an equilateral triangle, and each side measures 3 inches. To find the perimeter, we have to find the sum of these 3 sides. In this case, that would be 3 plus 3 plus 3, which is equal to 9. So the answer to this problem is 9 inches. For this problem, we have to figure out the perimeter of our bedroom. We know that our bedroom is a square, and each side has a length of 11 feet. To find the perimeter, we have to find the sum of these 4 sides. So that would be 11 plus 11 plus 11 plus 11, which is equal to 44. So the answer to this problem is 44 feet. For this problem, we have to figure out the perimeter of the bedroom. We know that the bedroom is 18 feet long and 13 feet wide. To find the perimeter, we can add up the length of the 4 sides. So that would be 13 plus 13 plus 18 plus 18, which is equal to 62. So the answer to this problem is 62 feet. For this problem, we have to find the length of each side. We know that his room is in the shape of a regular pentagon, and the perimeter of his room is 60 feet. We also know that each wall has the same length. The length of each wall is equal to the perimeter divided by the number of sides his room has. In this case, his room is a regular pentagon, so that means his room has 5 sides. Dividing the perimeter, which is 60 feet, by the number of sides, which is 5, we get 12. So the answer to this problem is 12 feet. For this problem, we have to find the perimeter of the figure on the right. We know that this shape is a square with side length of 4 inches, and this is a rectangle with a length of 5 inches and a width of 7 inches. Since this is a square, we know that each side has a length of 4 inches. We know the length of this side is 5 inches, because the length of the rectangle is 5 inches. The length of this side is equal to 7 minus 4, because it is the difference between the width of the rectangle and the width of the square. To find the perimeter of this figure, we can simply add up all of its sides. So that would be 4 plus 4 plus 7 minus 4 plus 5 plus 7 plus 4 plus 5. And that would give us 32. So the answer to this problem is 32 inches. For this problem, we have to find the perimeter of each new piece of paper. We know that a piece of square paper with side length of 15 centimeters was cut into half. So this means the length of the shorter side is equal to 15 divided by 2, which is 7.5. The length of the longer side is 15 because the problem tells us that each side has a length of 15. To find the perimeter of each new piece of paper, we can simply add up the length of all of these sides. So 15 plus 15 plus 7.5 plus 7.5 is equal to 45. So the answer to this problem is 45 centimeters. For this problem, we have to figure out the perimeter of the figure below. We know that this vertical side has a length of 13 centimeters and this horizontal side has a length of 21 centimeters. We can solve this problem by figuring out the length of all of these sides. We can do that by shifting the 2 vertical sides to the right. This way, these 3 vertical sides have a length of 13 centimeters. We can do the same thing for these 2 horizontal sides. We shift both of them up, and these three horizontal sides have a length of 21 centimeters. To figure out the perimeter of the figure below, we can add up the length of all of these sides. So that would be 13 plus 13 plus 21 plus 21, and that would be 68. So the answer to this problem is 68 centimeters. For this problem, we have to figure out the perimeter of the birthday card. We know that she has a rectangle paper measuring 40 centimeters by 30 centimeters, and she cuts out 10 squares, each of them measuring 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters. We also know that exactly one side of the square lies along a side of a rectangle, and none of the cutout squares touch or overlap. Let's start out by drawing the rectangle in one of the squares. The blue represents the original perimeter while the green represents the new perimeter. Since the square is a 5 by 5, we know that each of these sides is 5 centimeters. That means the total amount of perimeter added from each of these new squares is 10 centimeters, and since 10 of these squares are added, the total amount of new perimeter added is 10 times 10, which is 100 centimeters. Now we have to find the perimeter of the original rectangle. We know that the perimeter of a rectangle is equal to 2 times the length plus width. In this case, the length is 40 centimeters and the width is 30 centimeters. So the perimeter is equal to 2 times 40 plus 30, which is equal to 2 times 70, which is equal to 140. The total perimeter is equal to the new perimeter plus the original perimeter, which is 100 plus 140, which gives us 240. So the answer to this problem is 240 centimeters. For this problem, we need to figure out the length of the family room. We know that the length of the family room is 6 feet longer than its width. So that means the length minus 6 is equal to the width. We also know that its perimeter is equal to 64. To solve this problem, we need to use the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle. The formula is perimeter is equal to 2 times length plus width. Since we know the perimeter is 64, we can substitute 64 in for the perimeter. So our new equation is 64 is equal to 2 times length plus width. We can divide both sides of this equation by 2, and we get 32 is equal to length plus width. Since we know that width is equal to length minus 6, we can substitute length minus 6 in for width. So our new equation would be 32 is equal to length plus length minus 6. We can add 6 to both sides, so our new equation is 38 is equal to 2 times length. We can divide both sides by 2, and we get that 19 is equal to length. So the answer to this problem is 19 feet. For this problem, we need to figure out the perimeter of a house that is 24 1/4 inches on the diagram. We know that 1 inch represents 4 feet, so to convert inches to feet, we have to multiply the inches by 4. In this case, the perimeter of the house on the diagram is 24 1/4 inches. So we have to multiply 24 1/4 by 4 to get the number of feet. This is equal to 97, so the answer to this problem is 97 feet. For this problem, we have to figure out the perimeter of a large rectangle. We know that 6 circles of equal size touch adjacent circles in the sides of the large rectangle. We also know that each of the corners of the small rectangle is the center of one of the large circles, and the perimeter of the small rectangle is 78 centimeters. We can see from the diagram on the right that the perimeter of the small rectangle is made up of 8 radii. So that means the length of each radius is equal to 78 divided by 8, which is equal to 6.5. Based on the diagram, the large rectangle is made up of 20 radii, so the perimeter of the large rectangle is equal to 20 times the length of each radius, which is 6.5, which is equal to 130. So the answer to this problem is 130 centimeters. For this problem, we have to figure out the perimeter of the new shape. We know that a square with a perimeter of 20 centimeters has a semicircle drawn onto each of its sides as shown below. We also know that the circumference of one circle is calculated by pi d, where d is the diameter of the circle. Let's start by finding the length of one side of the square. We know that the perimeter of the square is 20 centimeters and the square has 4 sides, so the length of each side would be equal to 20 divided by 4, which is 5. Now let's find the circumference of each semicircle. Since a semicircle is half a circle, the circumference of a semicircle is half the circumference of a circle. So that means the circumference of a semicircle is equal to 1/2 pi d. Since d is equal to 5, we can substitute 5 in for d, and we get 1/2 pi times 5. Simplifying this, we get 5/2 pi. Since the perimeter is made up of 4 semicircles, the perimeter of the new shape is equal to 4 times 5/2 pi, which is equal to 10 pi. So the answer to this problem is 10 pi centimeters. For this problem, we need to figure out the perimeter of the large square paper. We know that at the end of cutting, there were 64 small squares and each square had a side length of 1.5 inches. The 64 small squares make up an 8 by 8 square because the square root of 64 is equal to 8. Since the length of a side of a small square is equal to 1.5 inches long, the length of a side of the large square is equal to 8 times 1.5. which is equal to 12. Since the square has 4 sides, the perimeter of the square would be equal to 12 times 4, which is equal to 48. So the answer to this problem is 48 inches. For this problem, we need to find the width of the pool. We know that the length of a rectangular swimming pool is exactly 3 times as long as its width. That means the length is equal to 3 times the width. We also know that the perimeter is equal to 296. We know that the perimeter of a rectangle is equal to 2 times the length plus width. Since we know that length is equal to 3 times width, we can substitute 3 times width for length. So our new equation would be perimeter is equal to 2 times 3 times width plus width. Simplifying this equation, we get perimeter is equal to 2 times 4 times width, which is equal to 8 times width. Since the perimeter is equal to 296, we know that 296 is equal to 8 width. Dividing both sides by 8, we get 37 is equal to width. So the answer to this problem is 37 meters. For this problem, we need to figure out the total perimeter of the shaded regions. We know that the square has an area of 196. The length of a side for this square is 14 because the square root of 196 is equal to 14. So all of the sides have a length of 14. Based on this diagram, we can see that the sum of this side and this side is equal to 14. This side and this side is also equal to 14. We also see that this vertical side plus this vertical side equals 14. This vertical side plus this vertical side equals 14. There are 4 pairs of sides that have a length of 14, so the total perimeter of the shaded regions is equal to 4 times 14, which is 56. So the answer to this problem is 56 inches. For this problem, we have to figure out the length of the perimeter of one of the parts. We know that the circle has a radius of 4 inches, and the arcs have a radius of 2 inches. Let's start by finding the perimeter of the two semicircles first. Since a semicircle is half a circle, the circumference of two semicircles is equal to the circumference of a circle. Recall that the circumference of a circle is equal to the diameter times pi. Since the diameter of this circle is equal to 4, the circumference is equal to 4 pi. Now let's find the perimeter of this arc. This arc makes up 1/4 the circumference of the larger circle, which has a radius of 4. So this means this circle has a diameter of 8, so its circumference is 8 pi. Since the arc makes up 1/4 of the circumference, we have to multiply 8 pi by 1/4, and we get 2 pi. To get the perimeter of one of the parts, we have to add 4 pi and 2 pi, so that would be 6 pi. So the answer to this problem is 6 pi inches.